Good afternoon, everyone. I actually, about a week and a half ago, the ministers here and myself attended the Florida Caribbean Cruise Association conference in Cartagena. And we saw there the CEOs of the industry in a panel like this one, making jokes, teaching each other, lecturing us, as you recall. But you knew that on the back of their mind, they would kill each other because they're fierce competitors, as we know. Having said that, I mean, I want to congratulate the people that put together this panel because, yes, you have some major, decision makers here in the region, but I'm very surprised and very pleased that these guys, we complement each other. We don't consider ourselves, direct competition, and you can see it from their, each other's presentation of their own business model. So there's hope, and I'm happy to be a part of that bright future for the Caribbean. As some of you might know, I was honored to be part of the government of Puerto Rico since 2009 as a minister myself, so I'm very happy to be back at a CTO event and a lot of familiar faces around. And just to throw, before I begin my presentation, to throw my 2 cents on the previous panel, which as part of my tenure in the government, I was also in charge of air access and cruise ship development for Puerto Rico for the last 5 years. And just a few points that I wanted to stress because I really want to take advantage of the opportunity. First of all, as Michael was saying, what's going on with Puerto Rico, as you saw, has a name, and it's basically American Airlines, as we all know. But within that name, there's 2 external shocks. So there's 2 dates that were critical for Puerto Rico. One was October 2008, when Puerto Rico lost almost 50% of its capacity, and actually March of this year when we lost the capacity of American Eagle. But having said that, from my own experience and some of the lessons learned, one which I think it was slightly mentioned, but working with airline-owned wholesalers really adds value and comfort to the whole equation. For example, the Virgin Atlantic itinerary that we launched in 2009 really came about from Virgin Holiday Cruises and Virgin Holidays. Same with Delta Vacations, JetBlue Vacations, et cetera, et cetera. So that really you really need also need to tackle that side of the business. Routes, as Ms. Kennedy was saying, those conferences are critical. We, for example, when it was in Vancouver, I think it was 2010 or 11. Out of that very conference, we were able to secure Condor, WestJet, and actually British Airways. And of course, that doesn't mean that some of these routes were being worked for years in advance. And then last but not least, which I don't think it was mentioned, but it's also critical, private sector participation. When we felt as government that we were most successful at pitching our business models to the airlines is when we went along with hoteliers or a hotel association president, et cetera, because that really adds credibility from the point of view of the airline to have an opportunity to actually interact with the revenue drivers with the drivers of the seats that they're planning to put into the destination. So don't forget about private sector participation when you're meeting with or setting up meetings and building the relationship with the airline. It's really gonna go a long way. Now going back to the topic, I think the reality of this industry I think it's actually very similar to the cruise industry, in which the reality is that we're dealing with movable assets and assets that this is not a hotel that's going to be there for 20, 30 years. These are assets that are easily, theoretically, can easily be moved from one destination to the other. So the planning window is short. Could be as short as a couple of months or as long as maybe 3 years. But I don't think it's even for the cruise line industry. I don't think it's even longer than that. So it is important that we are all aware, when we're addressing not only the major players but also the intra-Caribbean or the Caribbean regional players, that these are movable assets, and it's a very dynamic industry because of that fact. In terms of Seabourne Airlines, I guess our business model is, or our new business model, it's predicated on the, as you can see here from the slide, on the reliability, consistency, credibility, and safety of our service, and that has been our focus, in the last since inception, but mainly also in the last 12 to 18 months. I think it's been validated by the fact that Seabourne just became a American Airlines codeshare partner in the Caribbean. No surprise, Michael said it in the last panel. We're going after the American Eagle routes that were abandoned in early this year. That's an obvious move for us, and you'll see throughout the presentation. And so I think those core competencies are key for the success, short-term and long-term, of our service. In terms of what Seabourne is, we began operations as a seaplane operator in about 20 years ago, and we have evolved. Then became basically also an air shuttle operation. We have evolved into what we are today, which I'll explain a little bit of what's going on with Seabourne. In the last few months, we have implemented the necessary steps to gain that reliability, consistency, credibility, and of course safety of our operations that we needed through the various efforts that you see on the slides, from implementing new reservation systems, of course rebranding it was important, also was an important event, and getting new equipment in our new Saabs 340, and of course our relationship with American Airlines, which early indications seem that it's really achieving the results that we expected, and all the airlines will follow suit with us from San Juan, and by the end of this year, I would say that we'll probably be able to carry about almost 80% of the connecting traffic in San Juan through our network, either by our codeshare arrangement or by interline agreements. That's the planes that we just got delivery early this year, and we're expecting additional deliveries next year as opportunities arise. That's our network right now, and we just launched service this year on the 5 destinations that you see on the screen, and those are some of the revenue drivers that I was talking about. And it's my last slide. As I said, for us, this is a historic opportunity to become a major player in the Caribbean. That doesn't mean that we're not going to look into intra-island opportunities. Also, as you know, we still have ferry service, and I think there's also opportunities talking about seaplane. Talking about the ferry service for the seaplane to complement that ferry service that is existent or non-existent between islands. And last comments. The keys, and I think it goes a little bit of what my previous presenter was saying. Keys for intra-Caribbean travel and tourism. We already talked about cost of doing business. I would like to add there that in addition to government tariffs, there's also private sector cost of doing business, ground handling and ground transportation and mechanics, etc., and that's important that we also address those issues that arise in various destinations. And of course, product delivery and consistency really adds value to the local traffic. And when I say this, it's not just these guys are not going to solve the issue of intra-Caribbean demand. I think it's a whole equation. It involves hotels. It involves government. It involves working together and besides. What the CTO is doing right now, which is looking at it at a macro level. I think you also have to walk before you run. And when I was a tourism company, I tried to do some some experiments. With I tried to choose an island that would complement the offer, the demand that we had from a tourism destination, and try to get 2 hotels or 3 hotels who had the vision to participate in a specific program that we could launch as a multi-destination package offer to our various markets. So I encourage you also to think outside the box, and because we are, and we look at those kinds of opportunities as well. That's it. Thank you very much.